Right now at 5, a unique support group meets up in Joplin, and its goal is to help tear down barriers of taboo and non-permitted subjects.
One batch of rain on the way out, the other batch on the way in. Forecast coming up.
And the ACLU lays down its constitutional challenge to the death penalty in Kansas, and a Sedgwick County judge takes up that challenge.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner, so it's a little bit on the wet side out there today. Rain is arriving, just as we had discussed yesterday, and it will continue through the majority of our morning. As a matter of fact, take a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker. You can see first batch of rain on the way out, and you can see we've got this little dry slot right here as another batch of rain and even a few embedded thunderstorms starts to make its way up from Oklahoma. And here's a look at it out here. There have been, again, a few lightning strikes, some rumbles of thunder, and that'll kind of be the case through the majority of the morning. Is we'll see scattered thunderstorm activity, but most of this will just be rainfall across the area. And we're still contending with wind advisories. Now, on the Kansas side, they run through 6 this evening, and on the Missouri side, and for Bourbon, Crawford, and Cherokee counties in Kansas, it runs until 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, and that is because it's going to be windy. Now, we did mention yesterday there was the possibility of some stronger storms today. This is what it looks like. Now, overall, the risk is fairly low, and if we do see any stronger storms, it'll be in our northwestern counties, good chunk of southeast Kansas. The threat, again, overall is pretty low, but it is there, and if we do see any, it won't be until another round of thunderstorms begins to develop across southeast Kansas later this afternoon. So this is our first batch as we go through the morning of rain and a couple of rumbles of thunder out there. Temperatures holding in the lower 50s across the region. This will clear out by about noon, 1 o'clock, and then later this afternoon is when we'll see some redevelopment take place across southeast Kansas. And it's these storms that could potentially reach strong to low-grade severe limits. Now, outside of the rain and any thunderstorms we see, here's why we have the wind advisory. Look at these gusts possible by 9 a.m. We're talking 50, 55 miles an hour. Not unlikely across the region, so we do need to be prepared for that. MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line. No rain falling right now, but the roads are wet from a good soaking earlier. 47 in Joplin feels like 43 with an east wind at 8. We're looking at temperatures like this: 46 Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, 48 Miami, Neosho, Carthage, Lamar, and Nevada. And as we start our morning, this is what we're looking at. Again, scattered thunderstorms, breezy conditions. The strongest gusts are going to happen through the morning hours. It will still be breezy throughout the day, but those gusts in that 50, 55 mile an hour range will be through the morning hours, and then they'll tone down a bit into the 30 to 40 mile an hour range this afternoon. And as you can see, our temperatures hover right through the lower 50s. So we get that break in activity by the noon hour. It should start to clear out. The rain, again, keeping our temperatures fluctuating. We'll eventually make it to a high of 56. And then again, later this evening, mainly in southeast Kansas, we could see some additional thunderstorm development between, say, 3 and 6 o'clock. After that, this gets out of here quickly. We clear out and we get cool down to 41 for our overnight low with those winds continuing. We'll take a complete look at your full forecast here in just a few minutes. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, Fire in the Hole, a historic indoor roller coaster, is coming to an end at Silver Dollar City. An official with the amusement park says more than 25 million guests have been entertained since the attraction opened a half-century ago. The 2023 season at Silver Dollar City will be the grand finale of Fire in the Hole. To learn more about how the park is commemorating its end, download the KOAM News Now app. Webb City is looking to create a disc golf course. The City Council approved a motion to buy 18 disc golf baskets. Only 9 of the baskets will be set up at first. They'll go on the southwest end of King Jack Park. The other 9 will be added at a later date.
Disc golf is catching on, it's just something that for people to do, get out, of course back during the pandemic, and I think that really is when it took off because people needed something to do outside, and it's still a pretty popular sport.
The council also approved a motion to buy 3 new zero-turn lawnmowers. Valentine's Day is the busiest time of year for flower shops, and Country Gardens in Columbus, Kansas is busy cutting and arranging around 250 bouquets for Valentine's Day. With 2 big coolers, they can keep the flowers fresh and ready to deliver candy and stuffed animals to loved ones.
My husband, when we first got married, was always buying me a dozen roses. Well, we couldn't pay the electric bill, and I said, no more dozen roses. So 36 years ago, he bought me a flower shop.
She has lots of dozen roses. In addition, Country Gardens will bring in 8 more people to help deliver on Valentine's Day. And we'll have more on this in our 6 o'clock hour. On Monday, a support group met up in Joplin. They're called the Non-Permitted Project. It's a collection of people from different backgrounds who share the common goal of tearing down barriers of taboo and non-permitted subjects. The group also connects members with local community resources.
Absolutely. Our whole mantra is bridge the gap. We're trying to bridge the gap in the community, those who provide a service and those who need that service. And a lot of times there's a disconnect, and that's what we're trying to help bridge.
You can find more information about the project on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. The ACLU finished laying out its constitutional challenge to the death penalty in Kansas, and now a Sedgwick County judge has decided to take up part of that challenge and is expected to provide his opinion in the coming months. Sean Lodging breaks it down for us.
It is a ripe challenge because, after all, we're going to begin that process. Probably begin that process in the summertime.
Death qualification is a process where potential jurors in capital cases are removed if they're opposed to the death penalty. The ACLU had an expert witness who studied this issue in Sedgwick County and argued that black and/or women jurors are more likely to be removed and making the jury whiter and more likely to convict.
Recently from the Kansas Supreme Court that the court needed proof, it needed the evidence about whether this process of death qualification, a process that happens only in capital cases, whether that process is discriminatory and whether that process fundamentally alters your ability to get a fair trial.
Judge Jeffrey Gearing says he will have a written ruling before Kyle Young, who is charged with the death of 2 people, goes to trial. The ACLU filed the constitutional challenge in Young's capital murder case. As for the implications, District Attorney Mark Bennett says if the judge rules in favor of the state, it wouldn't impact how the case proceeds. If the ruling is in favor of the ACLU challenge and the case proceeds directly to trial, then that would remove the capital charge as an option.
Doesn't pass constitutional muster, then that would eliminate that possibility. We'd have to appeal. I mean, it would be appealed at some point. This will be appealed at some point. The question is timing, and there's some pretty specific rules.
Also, a ruling at the district court level doesn't affect the rest of the state. It would be the appeals process where that could happen.
No one case affects other cases at this level. Appeal it to the Supreme Court. If they agree, then we don't have a death penalty anymore.
Well, Judge Goring sided with the state on the other 2 parts of the challenge, saying since there has not been a conviction, it's too early to take up those questions. Young's trial is currently scheduled to begin in October. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the CDC releases some new data that's raising major concerns when it comes to teenage girls and the violence they experience. Plus, a town in Oklahoma decorates itself for a little friendly Valentine's Day competition. And Chris will have another look at those incoming thunderstorms. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. So we've got this first batch of rain that is on its way out of here, and it let loose with some pretty good rainfall across the area. And we've got this dry slot ahead of the next batch of rain moving in out of Oklahoma. Now, there have been a few embedded thunderstorms, and that's going to be the case as we go through the morning hours. Most of this will fall as rain, maybe even some heavy rain at times. But a few rumbles of thunder are not impossible out there with this activity as it comes in from Oklahoma and makes its way into our area. Now, on top of the scattered rain and thunderstorms this morning, we also have wind advisories for Bourbon, Crawford, and Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri. They go until 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. For everybody else, they go until 6 this evening. And here's why. We've got big winds coming. On top of that, later today, there is a low-end risk for some stronger storms across parts of southeast Kansas and stretching into southwest Missouri. The overall risks are low, but all the threats are potentially there. If we see these thunderstorms get going, it'll be between about 3 and 6 o'clock this evening, and they should be confined to southeast Kansas, and they could be a little on the stronger side. And of course, as we go through the day, we'll keep an eye on that for you. The thunderstorms we see this morning should not be on the strong or severe side. We'll just have those scattered storms, and they will keep our temperatures hovering around the lower 50s, and they'll start to clear out by about the noon hour, and that's when we get an opportunity to warm up a little more daytime heating, and that's why later this afternoon we could see that redevelopment take place across portions of southeast Kansas as this moves off. So we're talking Fort Scott, Chanute, Parsons, Independence, Yates Center. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Again, the overall risk is fairly low, but that risk is there, and we will monitor it for you. Here's the other side, those winds. As we go through the morning, I think the strongest wind gusts will be through the morning. And we'll still have gusty winds through the day, but we're talking about those 50 to 55 mile an hour wind gusts possible through the morning hours, and then they'll start to settle down a little bit by this afternoon as we get into the 30 to 40 mile an hour range. So still very gusty out there, but they'll be a little bit calmer later today. And it won't be until the overnight hours that these winds will start to calm down before we see the potential for another gusty day heading into our Wednesday. Here's what we're looking at in terms of rainfall. Not a ton of changes, a little bit of shifting of where the heavier rain may be, but still in that ½ inch to about 3/4 of an inch range for most of us on the rainfall. MoDOT Cameron, 32nd and Range Line. The roads are wet from a good soaking earlier, and more of that, of course, on the way. 47 in Joplin, feeling like 43 with that east breeze at about 8 miles an hour. Across the area, we are warmer this morning than we were yesterday. We're at 46 Iola, 49 Parsons, 48 Chetopa, Miami, Neosho, Carthage, and Lamar. We're up to 50 in Anderson and Grove. So we go through the rest of our morning. Heavy rain, a few scattered thunderstorms out there. Temperatures again hovering in the lower 50s. And then we'll hit the noon hour, and we'll start to see this activity wrap up in that first round. And then for southeast Kansas, we could see some of that return. We're heading for highs in about the mid-50s. As we go into the evening, showers and thunderstorms exit southeast Kansas, and then once they do, they take the cloud cover with them. We're still a bit breezy, as we mentioned, heading into the night, down to 41 for our low, but otherwise, not bad. We'll have mostly clear skies. We're 67 tomorrow, much better, maybe some evening showers, and that's when we see that significant temperature drop of about 40 degrees or so. Only 35 Thursday, some light snow possible in our northwestern counties. We're cool Friday into Saturday, and as we head into the start of next week, temperatures on the rebound back into the mid-60s by Monday with a few more evening showers. We're back with more right after this. Deja vu. We just want to recap what we've got going on for you this morning. So again, first batch of rain exiting the region. Some of us in a bit of a dry slot, more rain showers, and even a few thunderstorms on the way coming in out of Oklahoma. The good news is with this activity this morning, we're not anticipating any strong or severe storms, but we could see some embedded thunderstorms out there. Now we also still have wind advisories out there on this side, and for Bourbon, Crawford, and Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas, they run through 3 a.m. Everyone else, they run through 6 this evening. And again, as we mentioned, later today, between about 3 and 6, we could see some redevelopment of storms in southeast Kansas, and some of those could be on the strong to low-grade severe side. You can see all threats are up there, but again, the overall risk is relatively low, but there is that possibility. So we'll get more showers, more thunderstorms, and very gusty winds as we head through the morning. That clears out by about the noon hour for most of us, and then we start to see that redevelopment take place across southeast Kansas, and of course we'll keep an eye on that for you as we go through the evening. The gustiest winds will be this morning as they push 50, 55 miles an hour. As we head into the afternoon, they'll be in that 30 to 40 mile an hour range, and we're looking to pick up about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain across the region. Wet roads still at 32nd and Range Line, and of course that's where we are. 47 in Joplin, feeling like 43. Let's get straight ahead to the rest of our morning. We're looking at temperatures hovering in the lower 50s. We'll have those scattered showers, maybe a few thunderstorms in there as well. No strong or severe storms expected this morning, but just bring the umbrella, be prepared for the rainy conditions out there, and just wait. It'll clear out and it'll warm up at least a little bit later today. Well, competition between businesses in downtown Collinsville, Oklahoma is doing something good for the community. Meredith McCown has more.
While you walk through the streets of downtown Collinsville, you're sure to feel the love.
We know that our businesses here have big hearts, and there's a lot to love here in Collinsville.
Sherry Campbell is the city's community outreach coordinator. From candy heart decorations to tinsel and balloons, more than 21 local shops pulled out all the stops for the Cupid shoot. The only limit for businesses is to follow the Valentine's Day theme, and from there, there's no limit to creativity. Collinsville leaders wanted to promote the city's new app and encourage people to shop local. Voters could select their favorite window through the app or cast a ballot in store. Hundreds casted votes, and Campbell says each person is entered into a drawing for an I Love Collinsville gift basket worth $500. Christine Wilson owns Hometown Insurance Agency and says she had so much fun that now she wants to decorate for every holiday.
We are in a community that we all give to each other, we all help each other. It's about supporting one another. And when we decide to celebrate something, we go all out.
The winner of the competition and the gift basket will be announced today. And that brings us to our question. Are you celebrating Valentine's Day? It's a simple yes or no. We want to hear from you. You can vote through our website, through the app, and of course take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. And we will be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, some mental health experts are calling for a complete overhaul in treating behavioral health care needs for children. A new study released Monday looked at the records of more than 28,000 children ages 6 to 17 who visited the emergency room with mental health issues. Researchers found less than a third of them had supporting outpatient mental health visits within 7 days, and only 55% had a follow-up visit within 30 days. Pediatricians say there's been a surge of younger children needing mental health care since the pandemic. Research has shown follow-up visits with a mental health care provider lowers a person's suicide risk and raises the chances they will take their prescription medicine. And one of the study's authors says she hopes the study will prompt policymakers to invest more so children can access care no matter where they live. Well, changes to school nutrition standards have helped reduce obesity in children. A new study looked at more than 14,000 children and teenagers from 2005 to 2020. Researchers found an overall decrease in body mass index, or BMI, after standards mandated more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and low-fat dairy products. The overall BMI decrease was seen across ages and income levels, which researchers say is significant. The new study comes as U.S. leaders consider updates to further limit added sugars and sodium in school meals. Concerning data from the CDC shows record numbers of teenage girls are suffering with persistent sadness. In fact, 1 in 3 has seriously considered suicide. Dan Lieberman reports.
The CDC says a new report is a call to action to address the mental health crisis among teenage girls. Data shows U.S. teen girls are experiencing record high levels of violence, sadness, and risk of suicide. Nearly 3 in 5 girls say they feel persistently sad or hopeless. That's a 60% increase over the past decade and double that of boys.
These aren't numbers. These are our kids, and these are lives that are impacted. We're seeing increasing trends go in the wrong direction.
The survey finds 1 in 3 teen girls considered attempting suicide, and 1 in 5 teen girls experienced sexual violence in the past year.
We need to look at what's driving some of these increases in sexual violence. And that's where we need to realize this is both boys and girls, because boys in general will be perpetrating sexual violence. Certainly it can be same sex, but we need to make sure both youth are really focused on healthy relationships.
For teens who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or questioning, more than half said they experienced poor mental health.
Our LGBTQ youth have had significant challenges when you look at things like attempted suicide. It's just devastating to see that nearly 20% of LGBTQ youth have attempted suicide. That's a call for help.
And these mental health issues can have long-term impacts. which is why the CDC recommends high schools teach life skills, including conflict management and safe relationships. It also stresses that parents and other family members check in regularly with teens so they can get the help they need. Dan Lieberman, CBS News, New York.
CDC says there's no single reason why they're seeing these increases, but that teen girls were struggling with these issues even before the pandemic. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we are watching this first batch of rain move out, some of us getting a break before more rain and a few thunderstorms move in. We'll take a complete look at your forecast when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce announces the nomination for Business of the Year is open.
We've got wet roads in Joplin from the MoDOT camera there. As the rain is cleared out for now, more is on the way. We'll talk about how long it's going to last coming up.
And we meet a Webb City woman who is sharing her story about how a pacemaker saved her life 30 years ago.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So some of us getting a brief break from the rain and then all of us getting back into the rain as it continues to roll through the area this morning. So as we take a look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker, you can see that first batch of rain rolling out of the area off to the northeast. However, already overspreading the region is the second batch of showers and maybe even an embedded thunderstorm or two that'll continue to roll in out of Oklahoma. And you can see all of this rain activity, and this is going to persist through the morning hours. We have a lot to get through, and I'm going to get through it as quickly as I can, but I want to give you as much information as I can. Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas and southwest Missouri, wind advisory through 3 tomorrow morning. Everybody else, it runs through 6 this evening, and that is because we're going to have very gusty winds. Later today, we are watching the possibility of some thunderstorms redeveloping in southeast Kansas. All of the severe hazards, as you can see, are possible, but I want to emphasize, too, that at this point, these risks are fairly low. They're not zero, but they're relatively low, and if we do see this take place, it'll be between about 3 and 6 this evening in southeast Kansas, and we'll keep an eye on that for you, of course, so just keep it right here to KOAM. We'll have the morning rain continue, maybe an embedded thunderstorm or two. Will also be very windy. We'll talk about that as well. By about the noon, 1 o'clock hour, this activity clears out. Because of that, we're going to start to warm into the mid-50s, get a little more sunlight out there briefly, and that's why we're watching the possibility of thunderstorms redeveloping in southeast Kansas. So we're talking Yates Center, Chanute, Parsons, Independence, Fort Scott, maybe even down to Pittsburgh. We want to keep an eye on it, and we'll keep an eye on it for you as this rolls on through. Now, once it gets out of here, we clear out pretty quickly for the overnight hours. Unfortunately, the winds don't. Gustiest winds this morning is that it's when they'll be pushing that 50 to 55 mile an hour range. As we go into the afternoon, they're still gusty, but then they're down to that 30 to 40, maybe upwards of 45 mile an hour range. And those gusty winds will persist even into late tonight before they eventually start to die down. And then we could see another breezy day tomorrow. We've got rainfall total still looking at about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch for us, depending again on where the heaviest rain falls and if you see a thunderstorm or two. MoDOT camera 32nd in range line, wet roads, but not raining right now in Joplin. We're 47, 43 is what it feels like, with that east breeze at 8. Across the area, quick look at temperatures. 46 Iola, Fort Scott, 48 Chatopa, Miami, Neosho, Carthage, Lamar, and Nevada. So a lot of 48s out there. Going through the morning, our temperatures will hover in the low 50s. We'll have the heavy rain and embedded thunderstorm or two possible. And as we head into the afternoon, things start to get a little bit better briefly, even though we're still windy. Temperatures pushing into the mid-50s, and then we'll watch those additional storms possibly developing in southeast Kansas later today. We've got big changes coming up down the road in the extended forecast. We'll take a look at all that here in a few minutes. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, an attempted illegal U-turn leads to the death of a Springfield, Missouri man. The crash took place just after 4:15 Saturday morning on Missouri 360, 1 mile west of Republic, when a tractor-trailer attempted to turn around on the James River Expressway and block the road. 2018 Ford Taurus driven by Gary Sawyer of Springfield struck the passenger side of the trailer on the dirt highway. Sawyer was pronounced dead at the scene. Next of kin has been notified. Area firefighters joined forces to battle a blaze at a turkey barn in Jasper County. Just after 3 Monday morning, reports of a turkey barn fire alerted Jasper County Emergency 911. Multiple crews answered the call to join with the Villa Fire Department, Jasper County deputies, and Mercy Ambulance. Responders witnessed smoke and flames from one of 4 turkey barns located at 587 Iris Road, a half a mile west of the Lawrence County line. Crews had the flames under control in about an hour, but many units remained on scene until after 5 a.m. Well, the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce says the nomination period is now open for its Business of the Year awards, and now is the time to nominate a business or nonprofit for its impact on the local economy and to the overall progress of the Joplin area. Awards are presented in 3 categories. Those are businesses with 50 or fewer employees, businesses with more than 50 employees, and nonprofits.
Build pride in your community, but also among the chamber membership, and recognizing those businesses and not-for-profits who have really stepped up and taken the time to go the extra step to really be the best versions of themselves.
To see requirements and how finalists will be chosen for the awards, you can go online to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, February is American Heart Month, and a Webb City, Missouri woman is telling her story on how pacemakers saved her life 30 years ago. KOAM's Shagun Bomadale spoke to her and has more.
When she was 15 years old, Amy Quinn was dressing for school one morning in 1993 when she dropped unconsciously in the kitchen due to a heart spell called neurocardiogenic syncope, a condition that impacts the heart's rhythm and can cause fainting spells. Amy says the event and diagnosis were terrifying.
But the fear on my parents' face probably accelerated my fear, because they were obviously terrified that their 15-year-old was having these issues. And then I remember being in the hospital prior to implantation and praying a lot and knowing that this is a big deal, even for a 15-year-old girl.
When Amy was rushed to the hospital, she was treated by Dr. John Cox, a childhood doctor who inserted a pacemaker to help control the heartbeat.
Pacemakers can stimulate the heart in either the upper chambers or the lower chambers, and most commonly we implant devices that have the capacity to do both.
With several technological advances over the years, Dr. Cox tells me how he has seen the pacemaking technology change from when he puts one in his youngest patients in 1993 till today.
The initial pacemakers were large, hockey puck size things, and they're now down to a pretty small device that doesn't really stick out very much.
Now, after 30 years of living with a pacemaker, Amy is a caregiver, treating people herself.
That I was in and out of the hospital so much as a child that working in healthcare just was second nature to me. And so giving back and working in healthcare is just a part of who I am, you know, and educating. I connect a lot with, so I work with a lot of elderly folks, and I connect with them when I see that they have a pacemaker. I say, oh, I have a pacemaker too. And that, you know, that usually breaks the ice and we have a conversation.
Reporting in Joplin, Shagun Bomadale, KOAM News.
According to the CDC, heart disease is the leading cause of death for women in the United States. Well, this morning, we're discussing Valentine's Day.
Yeah, while you walk through the streets of downtown Collinsville, Oklahoma, you're sure to feel the love. Community coordinator knows that the businesses here have big hearts, and there's a lot to love in this Oklahoma town. So the city held a competition for its businesses known as Cupid Shoot.
From candy heart decorations to tinsel and balloons, more than 21 local shops pulled out all the stops for the Cupid Shoot. While creativity had no limits, the only limits for the businesses was to follow the Valentine's Day theme, and they wanted to encourage the townspeople to shop local while promoting the town's new app.
Voters could select their favorite display on the app or by casting a ballot in the store. Each person who voted was entered to win an I Love Collinsville gift basket worth $500.
I like the name, Collinsville.
It is a
That's
nice,
pretty cool.
nice little, nice name there. And that brings us to our question. And so far, it's an even split. Are you celebrating Valentine's Day? Half of you are, half of you are not. Now, I'm kind of curious because we didn't specify, because you asked earlier. My wife and I, we're not necessarily celebrating Valentine's Day today. We have the kids, we have work, we've got all this stuff going on. We've planned for the weekend. So I wonder, I think this is probably general. Are you celebrating it at all? So we're not celebrating today, but we are celebrating just later.
There you go.
So make sure you vote through
And
our
some
website.
people may have started last weekend.
That's very true. Some may have done it before Valentine's Day. So if you've already celebrated, make sure you vote. Do so through our app, through the Facebook. Oh, good Lord. You know what to do with the voting. Do it.
That's right.
I don't know what to do with the voting now.
Just log on and do it.
Yeah.
There
Get
you
on
go.
there and vote now, please.
All right. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. South Carolina Sheriff's Office is helping assault victims get back on their feet with a clothing boutique.
Plus, some couples in Italy express how deep their love is for each other by descending down a well. We'll have the latest.
You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, all is well for many couples who go the distance for the sake of love to celebrate Valentine's Day. Romance is in the air in the Italian city of Orvieto, where couples got to express just how deep their love is by descending into the historic St. Patrick's Well to share a deep kiss. Lovebirds were escorted down a 175-foot spiral staircase to the voice of a poet and a glass of prosecco to toast their love. Now, many exchanged a kiss or two to celebrate their bond and got to explore the underground passages and caves. The event organizer calls it a kiss from the depths. Pretty cool. Well, a florist is spreading the love with a unique bouquet for Valentine's Day. Fresh flowers and fresh veggies wrapped together in an edible bouquet. Yummy. They're being sold at a flower shop in the Philippines capital, Manila. The arrangements contain onion, garlic, tomatoes, and some red hot chilies to spice things up. The shop owner calls them a practical bouquet because you eventually toss the flower, but you can use the veggies to toss in a salad or make a special dish to continue to show your love. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
And there's a lot to talk about this morning. Some of us, again, drying out briefly as more shower and even some thunderstorm activity begins to roll in from Oklahoma, and it will continue to do so through the morning hours. And again, a few embedded thunderstorms with some heavier rain possible. No strong or severe storms expected this morning, but we'll talk about a potential risk later today here in just a minute. First up, Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas, all of southwest Missouri, wind advisories through 3 a.m. Everybody else, wind advisories through 6 this evening because it's going to be very breezy. As for the stronger storm threat, as you can see, all 3 severe weather risks are highlighted, but you can also see they're on the very low end. We're looking at the possibility of some redevelopment of thunderstorms later this afternoon across parts of southeast Kansas. Some of those could be strong, low-grade severe. It's not looking like a significant risk, but it's not zero either. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. So let's talk about the future. Rain, showers, maybe even a couple of thunderstorms through the morning hours. Everybody getting in on this activity. Then as we head into the afternoon, we start to clear out a bit, and southeast Kansas and all of us start to warm up into the mid-50s, and it's between about 3 and 6 that we could see the redevelopment of some of those storms. And again, some of them could be on the stronger side. So we're talking Fort Scott, Parsons, Chanute, Yates Center, maybe even into Pittsburgh, Independence. We're going to keep an eye on that for you. That will roll out, though. Once it does, we all clear out. We stay very windy, though. We're going to have those gusts. I think the strongest ones will be through the morning hours, as that's when they're going to be at their peak of 50 to 55 miles an hour. They'll still be gusty later today in that 30 to 40, maybe even still up to 45 mile an hour range. And that'll stay that way as we go through the afternoon and even into the overnight hours. Even once the rain clears out, we are still very breezy. We're looking to pick up anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. Some of us may even get close to an inch of rain, and much needed rain. MoDOT camera, 32nd and Range Line. Roads are still wet in Joplin, same at 7th and Range Line. More rain on the way, but right now calm. 47 feels like 43 with an east breeze at 8. Across the region, 46, Iola, Fort Scott, lots of 48s, Nevada, Lamar, Carthage, 49 in Neosho, 48 Miami, and 49 in Parsons and Pittsburgh. So we got the showers, few embedded thunderstorms through the morning. Temperatures holding out in the lower 50s. Heading into the afternoon, we get into the mid 50s for highs. Most of us dry for the afternoon, but watching that redevelopment possible across southeast Kansas. That kicks out of here by about 6, 7 o'clock this evening. Then we all clear out, mostly clear skies, and we drop back down to a low of 41 degrees. Here's what we've got coming up. 67 tomorrow, still a bit breezy. Then that 40-some-odd degree drop down to 26 Wednesday night. Maybe a few light snow showers in our northwestern counties. 35 Thursday, 21. We're still cool Friday and Saturday. And then as we head into the start of next week, temperatures warm up and rain chances return by next Monday. We got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. United Nations says the death toll from last week's earthquake in Turkey will more than likely double the 37,000 already confirmed dead. Anger is growing in the region as police issue hundreds of arrest warrants to contractors, architects, and engineers connected to the buildings that collapsed. This stands in stark contrast to the moments of hope, like when a 13-year-old boy was rescued from the rubble 182 hours after the quake first struck. Well, since Friday, 3 more objects have been shot down over North America. U.S. officials still cannot say whether the objects shot down belong to China or any government rather than a company or even an individual. Officials say the 3 objects posed a threat to commercial aircraft. This follows the U.S. military shooting down a Chinese surveillance balloon more than a week ago. And on Monday, a support group met in Joplin, and they're called the Non-Permitted Project. It's a collection of people from different backgrounds who share the common goal of tearing down barriers of taboo and non-permitted subjects. The group also connects members with local community resources. And Chiefs fans gravitate to championship gear just days after their team won the Super Bowl. Now, one hot spot for Chiefs gear in Joplin is Academy Sports on Rangeline. Sales of the championship memorabilia there began as soon as the game ended Sunday night. Not a surprise in Chiefs country. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. In South Carolina, the Kershaw County Sheriff's Office has started a new venture. It's a boutique that aims to help crime victims by offering them clothing items for free. Andrew Fancher has the details.
This is just one more step, one more thing that we want to do for the victims here in Kershaw County because, you know, they're the main reason we're doing our jobs.
After identifying the need for a special resource in 2021, the Kershaw County Sheriff's Office got to work. This is the Blue Line Boutique of Lugoff, a nonprofit-driven store where everything is either donated through or supplied by the KCSO.
Nothing in here has been purchased. It is strictly donations from the community. There is no monetary exchange. Everything is free. We received it from the community and we will be giving it back to the community free of charge.
Deputy Kristen Clark is KCSO's law enforcement advocate. She says the program was originally geared towards the betterment of domestic violence victims, either in the KCSO system or referred to by an agency in their jurisdiction. Thanks to an abundance of clothing donations following the program's announcement 16 months ago, the doors are now open for any victims in Kershaw County, whether it's assault, battery, or domestic violence.
Now, the purpose of this is to be able to allow them to come and acquire some clothes that will be for job interviews or going to court or any other kind of event that they have because they're starting over.
Their recent nonprofit status gives them the ability to collect cash donations to expand their service mission.
If we need to purchase an item that somebody needs that we don't have on hand, we can go get that for them. We'll also be able to, if they are on scene and they're needing to get out of a dangerous situation and we don't have anywhere for them to go, we'll be able to utilize those funds to get them shelter in a hotel or somewhere, and it won't cost them anything.
To make room for more clothing donations, KCSO expects to open the doors to the public once a month. We'll be right back. Tuesday is a day for love, but it's also National Organ Day. The day is made so we can remember people who've donated blood, tissue, marrow, or an organ to help save others' lives. And people are encouraged to donate blood today. To find out where to donate blood, you can check with your area Red Cross. The Fort Worth Zoo in Texas welcomed 17 adorable lesser flamingo chicks over the last month at its facility. Now, footage released on February 13th, that'd be yesterday, shows more on the way. According to the zoo, which says it has the most successful lesser flamingo breeding program in the world, the birds are difficult to breed and reproduce less than other flamingo species, so these flamingo chicks are a big deal. The chicks will be housed behind the scenes and will receive around-the-clock feedings and care from their keepers and their parents.
All right, here's what we've got so far. 49 in Joplin, feels like 44. More rain getting ready to roll into the area. More rain already impacting a good chunk of us, too. 49s, lots of these. Pittsburgh, Parsons, Chanute, Neodesha, Yates Center, Sedan. 48 Chetopa, Miami, 49 Neosho, and 48 in Carthage, Lamar, and Nevada as we go through the start of our Tuesday. As we proceed through the morning, more showers, maybe an embedded thunderstorm or two possible. Temperatures hovering in the lower 50s, and heading into the afternoon, we'll start to see this activity clear out about noon, 1 o'clock. It will still be breezy. We have wind advisories, those wind gusts pushing 40 to 50 miles an hour through the day. High of 56, and we're watching the possibility of some redevelopment of showers and thunderstorms across southeast Kansas later today that we're keeping an eye on. Down to 41 for our low tonight. Those showers and storms in southeast Kansas should clear out by about 6, 7 o'clock. We're still breezy, though, heading into the overnight. It's not until early tomorrow morning that the winds start to let up just a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the 7-day forecast for you. So we're up to 67 tomorrow. Still a bit breezy. Evening showers possible. Could translate into some light snow in our northwestern counties as we see a 40-some-odd degree drop in temperatures from 67 down to 26 for our low. 35 on Thursday. Still cool Friday and Saturday. We start to warm up Sunday and Monday. More rain chances build in Monday and Tuesday. Temperatures plummet once again by Tuesday, and then we start to see a possibility of a wintry mix on Wednesday of next week, only 37, and then back up to 50 by next Thursday. We're back right after this.
Right now at 6, what started as an attempt at an illegal U-turn for a tractor trailer turns into a fatal crash for a Springfield man.
More rain and even a few embedded thunderstorms on the way into the area. We'll talk about these rain chances and some additional storms later today coming up.
And love is in full bloom at one Columbus flower shop and bakery, who wants to make sure they have everything couples need for Valentine's Day.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner, just after 6 o'clock on Tuesday. And remember, Tuesday means that we're now officially on the downhill run to Friday, and it's Valentine's Day.
It is.
You gotta make sure you plan something special. If you're planning anything outdoors, grab the umbrella this morning, and in southeast Kansas, you may need it again later this afternoon. Rain showers widespread across the area, even a few embedded thunderstorms possible as additional activity continues to roll in out of Oklahoma, and it will continue to do so through the morning hours. So some of us could get some pockets of heavy rain. There's a lot to go over this morning. We've got wind advisory, southeast Kansas through 6 o'clock. Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas, all of southwest Missouri, they run through 3 a.m. We also are watching the possibility of some redevelopment of some storms later today in southeast Kansas. There is a low-end risk for some strong to low-grade severe thunderstorms, and as you can see, all 3 risks are highlighted, but again, the overall threat is pretty low, but it's not 0, so we'll keep an eye on that for you. We're going to go through this morning. Showers, some heavy rain, maybe even some rumbles of thunder out there, nothing too crazy, and temperatures not really moving a lot, as you can see. They just kind of bounce back and forth. By the time we head into the afternoon, we start to clear out for a bit, and we'll start to warm up. We're looking at temperatures making it into the mid-50s, and then between about 3 and 6 is when we're going to see redevelopment of some showers, maybe some thunderstorms in southeast Kansas. So places like Yates Center, Chanute, Parsons, Independence, maybe even down to Pittsburgh, Fort Scott. We want to keep an eye on this. Again, the threat is low, but it is there, so we'll monitor it for you. Once that clears out, we all clear out, but the winds don't let up, hence the wind advisories. I think the gustiest winds will be this morning when they're going to be pushing their strongest at 50 to 55 miles an hour. Later today, they'll be in that 30 to 40 mile an hour range, but gusts upwards of 45 are still possible. And we're looking to pick up anywhere from half an inch to 3/4 of an inch, maybe some of us even close to an inch of rain today. MoDOT camera, 32nd and range line, wet, but all right so far. 49 in Joplin, feeling like 44 so far this morning. Temperatures cool across the region, 47 Iola, 48 Pittsburgh, 53 Miami, and 52 in the Osho. As we go through this morning, we'll have those showers, we'll have some embedded thunderstorms, temperatures hovering in the lower 50s as we get our day started. We'll have a complete look at your full forecast, including that big temperature drop here in just a few minutes. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, an attempted illegal U-turn leads to the death of a Springfield, Missouri man. The crash took place just after 4:15 Saturday morning on Missouri 360. That's 1 mile west of Republic when a tractor trailer attempted to turn around on the James River Expressway and block the road. 2018 Ford Taurus driven by Gary Sawyer of Springfield struck the passenger side of the trailer on the Dork Highway. Sawyer was pronounced dead at the scene. Next of kin has been notified. Area firefighters joined forces to battle a blaze at a turkey barn in Jasper County just after 3 Monday morning. Reports of a turkey barn fire alerted Jasper County Emergency 911. Multiple crews answered the call to join with Avila Fire Department, Jasper County deputies, and Mercy Ambulance. Responders witnessed smoke and flames from one of 4 turkey barns located at 587 Iris Road, about a half-mile west of the Lawrence County line. Crews had the flames under control in about an hour, but many units remained on the scene until after 5 a.m. An iconic roller coaster gets ready to take its last trip around the tracks. Fire in the Hole, historic indoor roller coaster, is coming to an end at Silver Dollar City. An official with the amusement park says more than 25 million guests have been entertained since the attraction opened half a century ago. The 2023 season at Silver Dollar City will be the grand finale of Fire in the Hole. To learn more about how the park is commemorating its end, you can download our KOAM News Now app. One area city tees up some good news for disc golf fans. Webb City is looking to create a disc golf course. City Council approved a motion to buy 18 disc golf baskets. Only 9 of the baskets will be set up at first. They'll go on the southwest end of King Jack Park. The other 9 will be added at a later date.
Disc golf is catching on, it's just something that for people to do, get out, of course back during the pandemic, and I think that really is when it took off because people needed something to do outside. And it's still a pretty popular sport.
The council also approved a motion to buy 3 new zero-turn lawnmowers. Well, a whole lot of people will receive a whole lot of love today in the form of Valentine's Day flowers, cards, or sweet treats. And that means a whole lot of area businesses are busy preparing those gifts. KOAM's Carrie Worthen visited a flower shop and a bakery to see how they are gearing up for this special day.
With anything that we can do ahead that will make it easier, we just go ahead with that.
Country Gardens in Columbus, Kansas started planning early for Valentine's Day.
We usually, right after the new year, we start estimating how many candy bouquets, and we start making bows. We put together the candy arrangements, looking for supplies, what you need, and get those ordered.
Along with florists, bakers are busy making heart-shaped, everything. Celebrations by Lori in Pittsburgh had a huge Super Bowl weekend with Chiefs cookies on top of Valentine's Day orders.
And it gets kind of hectic.
Yeah, it's challenging. It takes a lot of pre-planning, it takes a lot of dedication, it takes a lot of extra hours, but we always hate to miss out on an opportunity to be part of those extra special celebrations as well.
Horton said she will send out about 80 to 100 dozen cookies and 30 to 40 dozen cupcakes. And Yerk said she will make around 250 bouquets.
My husband, when we first got married, was always buying me a dozen roses. Well, we couldn't pay the electric bill, and I said, no more dozen roses. So 36 years ago, he bought me a flower shop.
While she has guaranteed flowers on Valentine's Day, shops like these two are working around the clock with extra employees to make the holiday memorable. In Columbus, Carrie Worthen, KOAM News.
Celebrations by Lori employees work extra hours during the Valentine's Day season, and Country Gardens hired 11 extra employees this holiday. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the dangers of loneliness.
It can be as dangerous as obesity or substance abuse. I'm Skylar Henry in Washington with more on loneliness and what's crucial for survival.
Plus, a shooting incident at Michigan State University leaves 3 people dead with another 5 in the hospital in critical condition. Police say the gunman acted alone, and now they want to know why. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Tapping Nation Watch this morning, investigators are now searching for a motive after shootings at Michigan State University killed at least 3 people. Another 5 victims were transported to the hospital and are in critical condition. Jared Hill has the latest.
The search is over for what police say is a lone suspected shooter who went on a deadly rampage through Michigan State University last night. Officials say the suspect shot and killed himself as he was confronted by police off campus in nearby Lansing.
That 43-year-old male is not affiliated in any way with Michigan State University. He's not a student, faculty, staff. And we have no idea why he came to campus to do this.
A source tells CBS News multiple magazines and 2 guns were found with the suspect, though police have not confirmed those details.
I got a shot fire complaint at Berkey Hall.
Police swarmed the campus within minutes of the first reports of an active shooter just after 8 last night. Authorities say the victims were found in an academic building and a student union, both buildings open to the public. This video shows students fleeing Acres Dining Hall as police arrived.
When we ran out, there were cops there, and they told us to go lay in a field.
State, local, and federal officers also responded to the shooting in a coordinated effort. The FBI says it's assisting the investigation as authorities work around the clock to figure out why this happened.
We are a community that is knit together by each other, and we will hold each other up.
All campus activities, including sporting events, are suspended for the next 2 days. Local K-12 schools in East Lansing, Michigan, are also closed today. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Well, at this point, police are not identifying the victims in the attack out of respect for the families. And police are asking the public to come forward with any information that could help with the investigation by calling 844-99-MSUPD or emailing tips to police.msu.edu. That's a look at one of today's top national stories. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, rain is beginning to fall once again in the Joplin area as the rain continues to overspread the entire region. We've got wet roads on that MoDOT cam at 32nd and Rangeline. We've got a lot to discuss, and we're going to break it all down when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Time for some weather trivia real quick. So fronts, of course, a big part of our day today. We want to know which type of front moves the fastest on average. I feel like I may have asked this question before, and if I have, then you should already know the answer. Is it a cold front? The speed of a front is not actually known. A warm front or a stationary front? While you think about that, let's take a look at the camera at 7th and Rangeline. Let me get out of the way of the light. And you can see the rain falling again in Joplin as it continues to overspread the area coming in out of Oklahoma. And here it is. Most of southeast Kansas already in this rain shower activity. More of it on the way, and even an embedded thunderstorm or 2 is possible. No strong or severe storms expected this morning, but it's going to be breezy. For Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties, and all of southwest Missouri, wind advisories through 3 a.m. For everyone else, they run through 6 this evening because it's going to be, again, quite windy. We also have a low-end severe threat. And as you can see, tornado, hail, and wind risks are all highlighted. But I want to emphasize this overall threat is relatively low, but it's not zero. So we are keeping an eye on the possibility of redeveloping thunderstorms across southeast Kansas later today. In fact, we can show them on the future track. So we go through this morning. Heavy rain. Maybe a thunderstorm or 2. Nothing severe this morning. We hover in the lower 50s. This activity continues as we go through the morning. By the time we get to the afternoon, we'll start to see some of that clear out. And as we do, that will allow us to start to warm into the mid-50s, get a little sunshine, little daytime heating in southeast Kansas, and it could be enough to set off redeveloping thunderstorms. A few of those could be strong to low-grade severe. So Fort Scott, Pittsburgh, Parsons, Chanute, Yates Center, Independence, something to keep an eye on later today. And of course, we'll be keeping an eye on it as well. Once we hit about 6, 7 o'clock, all of that moves on out of the area and we are going to be left with clear skies. This morning, I think is when we're going to see the gustiest winds, where they're going to be pushing that 50 to 55 mile an hour range. However, through the rest of today, we're still going to see those gusts from 30 to 40, possibly even still peaking at 45 miles an hour. And even after the rain clears out, winds will still be gusting as we head into the evening hours and into the overnight as well. It won't be until early tomorrow morning that the winds begin to calm down before they get gusty again heading into tomorrow. We're looking at picking up anywhere from ½ an inch to 3/4 of an inch, possibly even an inch of rain in some areas. So here it is, rain falling in Joplin on the MoDOT camera at 7th and Range Line. We're at 49 degrees. 44 is what it feels like right now. Lots of 40s out there, but some of us starting to warm up a bit. Say Neosho, Anderson, Miami, Grove, Veneta, even up to Chatopa, Parsons, we're in the 50s. We have 48 in Pittsburgh, 46 in Fort Scott, and 49 in Chanute this morning. As we go through the rest of the morning, we're going to have those heavy rain showers, maybe even an embedded thunderstorm or two, and temperatures hovering in the lower 50s. Heading into the afternoon, we get that break in the activity. We stay breezy, and then we'll watch the possibility of redeveloping storms across southeast Kansas, heading for highs in the mid-50s, right around 56 in Joplin. Into tonight, aside from southeast Kansas, with those storms wrapping up about 6, 7 o'clock, we will start to clear out. We'll still be breezy down to a low of 41 degrees. Now, to the answer to our trivia question, which type of front moves the fastest on average? Well, if you happen to pick a cold front, you would be correct. There's their approximate speeds. Cold fronts move at about 20, warm fronts move at about 15. Stationary fronts, of course, have little to no movement whatsoever. All right, up to 67 tomorrow, still a bit breezy. Then that's when we see that 40-some-odd degree drop down to 26. Light rain Wednesday night could translate into some light snow, especially in our northwestern counties. 35 on Thursday. Still cool Friday and Saturday, but as we head into the second half of the weekend and next week, temperatures will begin to warm up. We're back with more right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, working out in the morning may burn more fat than working out in the evening. Researchers in Sweden found mice exercising during their active phase increased their metabolism more than those exercising when they're usually at rest. It's not yet clear whether the same is true for humans. While mice are a well-established model, a key difference here is that they are nocturnal. Higher intake of free sugars, meaning added sugars or sugar naturally present in honey and fruit juice, leads to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And that's according to a new study published in BMC Medicine. Researchers found while carbohydrates were not associated with cardiovascular disease outcomes, they were when the food had free sugars. For each 5% higher energy that came from free sugars, the risk of cardiovascular disease was 7% higher, and the risk of stroke increased by 10%. Well, the American Heart Association is highlighting the importance of optimizing cardiovascular health before pregnancy. Recent studies show poor cardiovascular health can lead to complications for mother and baby, such as being born preterm, which is associated with a 53% higher risk of heart disease by the age of 43. Researchers also found having type 2 diabetes before becoming pregnant increases the chances a child will develop cardiovascular disease by about 40% before age 40. Well, if you're lonely, you're in good company. More Americans are reporting feelings of loneliness, which can have a direct impact on your heart and brain health. So where do all the lonely hearts go? Skylar Henry reports.
It's the capital city of the United States, and Washington, D.C. is also recently dubbed the loneliest place in the country. That's according to the Chamber of Commerce, which based its rankings on the number of single-person households. But living alone and loneliness aren't the same thing.
It's often defined as being based on the discrepancy between our desired level of connection and actual level of connection.
Dr. Julianne Holt-Lundstadt has been studying loneliness for more than 2 decades. She says researchers have been seeing declining trends in social connection and increasing trends in isolation for years, and the pandemic made things worse. A 2021 Harvard survey found 36% of all Americans, including 61% of young adults, reported feeling serious loneliness.
We have very good evidence that it impacts our cognitive functioning as well as our physical health and ultimately our longevity.
According to the American Heart Association, social isolation and loneliness are associated with about 30% increased risk of heart attack or stroke, or death from either.
Experts say just as hunger motivates you to get something to eat, loneliness motivates you to get out and make those social connections.
It takes a lot of courage to connect with someone new to begin with.
Robert Kinsler is the founder of DC Fray, which offers recreational sports leagues, games, and even free events for people looking to connect.
People just want to have something fun to do. They need that little extra structure to make it easier to connect with people.
Whether it's through recreation, volunteering, or quality time with loved ones, experts say those relationships can be a pathway to a healthy and connected heart. Skylar Henry, CBS News, from the loneliest city in America.
Well, experts say the safety and walkability of your neighborhood can influence loneliness, along with systemic issues like discrimination and marginalization. Let's look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And a quick check of the Skywatch Storm Tracker. More rain, heavy rain, and maybe even an embedded thunderstorm or two overspreading the area. And that will continue to be the case as we head through the rest of the morning. We'll see more heavy rain develop across Oklahoma, roll into the area. And again, a thunderstorm or two is possible. We're also watching the possibility of some stronger storms later today, possible across portions of southeast Kansas. We also have the wind advisories because we're going to have gusts pushing 40, 50, maybe even 55 miles an hour today. We'll take a look at your complete forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Right now at 6:30, the Chiefs bring the Lombardi Trophy back to Kansas City, and fans are invited to the championship parade.
And we're inviting everybody to some rain showers, maybe even a few thunderstorms across the area. We'll talk about your full forecast coming up.
And it's time to place your votes again. The Joplin Chamber of Commerce wants to know who you think is the business of the year.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:28. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. So it's raining again, but we need the rain. I want to emphasize that too. We need this rain. This is not necessarily a bad thing. I know it's kind of stinky. It's on Valentine's Day, but we absolutely need this rain. And we are getting plenty of it out there. As you can see on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, rain coming down pretty good, maybe even an embedded thunderstorm or two across the area this morning. No severe weather anticipated this morning, and more of this rain will continue to roll up out of Oklahoma, and it will last at least through the noon hour for some of us, maybe a pinch longer. All right, so this is where it gets a little confusing. In case anybody's ever wondered why we have to break it up like this, the National Weather Service office in Tulsa covers most of southeast Kansas. Or Wichita, I'm sorry. Tulsa covers northeast Oklahoma. Northwest Arkansas is covered separately, and then southwest Missouri and Bourbon, Crawford, and Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas are covered by Springfield. So that's why Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties in southeast Kansas and all of southwest Missouri have a wind advisory through 3 a.m. Everybody else is through 6 o'clock this evening. So that's why we have to break it up that way sometimes. We didn't get to pick how they're broken up. That's just how the National Weather Service works. Later today, and this is what we're keeping an eye on, there is a low-end risk of some strong to low-grade severe thunderstorms, as you can see, primarily across southeast Kansas. Now, all those severe threats are possible. The risk is really low, but it's not zero, and it is something that we'll keep an eye on for today, and you should keep an eye on as well. Stay here with KOAM. We'll keep you updated should anything get going. Now, for the morning, all of us getting in on the rain, maybe even a thunderstorm or two. No strong storms this morning. Just good, heavy rain across the area. And then as we head into this afternoon, we'll start to see this clear out. We'll get some daytime heating in. Not talking summer-like heating, but we're going to get into the mid-50s. And then between about 3 and 6, so we can see redevelopment of thunderstorms in southeast Kansas, and that's when they could get a little on the strong side. So Yates Center, Chanute, Parsons, Independence, maybe even down to Pittsburgh and over to Fort Scott. Something to keep an eye on as we head into the afternoon hours. On top of that, the wind advisories are for this, and I think the strongest gust gusts are going to happen this morning in that 50 to 55 mile an hour range. But as we go through the day, we're still looking at those gusts pushing 40 to 50 miles an hour throughout the afternoon and into the overnight as well. Rain, we're looking at about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch. Some of us may even make it up to an inch. Wet roads as the rain falls on the MoDOT camera, 32nd in range line. Same at our camera at 7th in range line. 49 in Joplin, feeling like 44 right now. Temperatures across the area sitting around the same. Few of us down to the south are a little bit warmer, like Miami, Chautauqua, Parsons, Veneta, Grove into the 50s. We got 40s for just about everybody else. As we go through the rest of our morning, we're looking at the heavy rain, maybe a thunderstorm or two, and we'll hover in the low 50s. We still have a significant cool down coming in about the next 36 hours. We're going to talk about all of that in your complete forecast here in just a few minutes. Tanya?
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, everyone loves a parade, especially when it's celebrating your favorite football team. And 3 years after a massive Super Bowl parade in Kansas City, the city has planned the next one. Hundreds of thousands of people gathered in KC for the parade following the Super Bowl 54 victory in February of 2020. And now the city has released the schedule and route for this year's celebration. Weather permitting, the parade will start at noon Wednesday at 6th Street and Grand Boulevard. It'll work its way down Grand and then head west at Union Station. The rally at Union Station is estimated to begin around 1:45 p.m. And you can find this information, including the route map, on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, the Super Bowl might be about competition, but it can also be about good sportsmanship. On Monday, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announced she will donate her Super Bowl sports bet winnings of $165, including the original $15 she wagered. It'll go to the 15 and Mahomes Foundation. Patrick Mahomes' nonprofit dedicated to improving the lives of children. A week before the football season began, the governor bet the Chiefs would win the Super Bowl. It was the first bet placed after Kansas legalized sports betting in the state this past summer. Well, do you have a favorite business in Joplin that you want everyone to know about? Well, the Joplin Chamber of Commerce definitely wants to know about it. The Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce says the nomination period is now open for its Business of the Year awards. Now is the time to nominate a business or nonprofit for its impact on the local economy and to the overall progress of the Joplin area. Awards are presented in 3 categories, and those are businesses with 50 or fewer employees, businesses with more than 50 employees, and nonprofits.
Build pride in your community, but also among the chamber membership, and recognizing those businesses and not-for-profits who have really stepped up and taken the time to go the extra step to really be the best versions of themselves.
To see requirements and how finalists will be chosen for the awards, you can go online to KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, people tend to think of February as the month with heart because of Valentine's Day, but there's also another reason. February is American Heart Month, and a Webb City, Missouri woman is telling her story of a life-saving procedure. Amy Queen was 15 years old in 1993 when she was dressing for school one morning and dropped unconscious in the kitchen due to a heart condition that impacts heart rhythm and can cause fainting spells. She's now had a pacemaker implanted for 30 years, helping to regulate her heart rhythm. The technology has been updated over the years.
Now, with the technology, the pacemaker check is actually through my phone, so I don't have to make an appointment to have special checks done. They actually just monitor through my phone. But for a while, we weren't sure I was going to be able to have children, and so Dr. Cox had to monitor me through those processes. But I have 2 kids, and they're grown, and they're doing great.
According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, heart disease is the leading cause of death for women in the United States. This morning, we're discussing Valentine's Day.
Yeah, while you walk through the streets of downtown Collinsville, Oklahoma, you're sure to feel the love. The community coordinator knows that the businesses here have big hearts, and there's a lot to love in this Oklahoma town. So the city held a competition for its businesses known as Cupid Shoot.
From candy heart decorations to tinsel and balloons, more than 21 local shops pulled out all the stops for the Cupid Shoot. And while creativity had no limits, the only limits for the businesses was to follow the Valentine's Day theme. They wanted to encourage the townspeople to shop local while promoting the town's new app.
Voters could select their favorite display on the app or by casting a ballot in the store. Each person who voted was entered to win an I Love Collinsville gift basket worth $500. And we don't really have anything to give away for you this morning quite like that, but we do want to know if you are celebrating Valentine's Day. Not a big change from earlier this morning. 55% of you say you are. 45% of you say you are not.
And it doesn't matter if it's today or last weekend or this weekend, if you're celebrating the holiday in general.
Yeah, so make sure you take time to vote through our website, our app, and take part in the discussion on our Facebook page.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we take you inside a museum featuring everything chocolate. And travel couldn't get any sweeter.
Plus, the rain continues to fall here in the area. We'll take a complete look at that forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
In Consumer Watch this morning, Ford Motor Company announced plans to build a $3.5 billion factory in Michigan to make lower-cost batteries for electric vehicles starting in 2026. The facility will be located about 100 miles west of Detroit and will employ at least 2,500 people. While Ford says the factory will be owned by a wholly owned subsidiary, a Chinese company with expertise in lithium iron phosphate is expected to supply technology, some equipment, and workers. Well, today is Valentine's Day, and according to the National Retail Federation, the date is no longer just for lovers. The retail trade group predicts consumers will spend an average of $14 more this year versus last on gifts for their pets, friends, coworkers, and their children's classmates and teachers. In all, the NRF says consumers are expected to spend nearly $26 billion on presents and a night out. And were you one of the estimated 26 million Americans who missed part or all of work yesterday to recover from Sunday's Super Bowl? Well, now a Tennessee lawmaker is working on a bill that would make the Monday after the Super Bowl an official state holiday. A poll from Workforce found that 2 out of every 5 workers agree that the day after the Super Bowl should be a holiday. I like that idea too. If you're looking for something new and sweet this Valentine's Day, perhaps consider a visit to a museum in Switzerland featuring everything chocolate. Wendy Gillette has the report.
Pink one as well. Humaira Shabir, who traveled from England, recently loaded up on truffles at the new Lindt home of chocolate just south of Zurich. It's been amazing, getting to taste the chocolate at every point. So yeah, it has been lovely. The museum entrance features the largest chocolate fountain in the world, about 30 feet tall, circulating more than 3,300 pounds of chocolate. Although it looks decadent, there's no taste testing here, but there are opportunities to sample spoonfuls of liquid white, dark, and milk chocolate. Chocolate squares. And the all-you-can-grab truffle room. Other areas feature a crash course in chocolate history.
The museum covers the 5,000-year-old history of chocolate. That's, of course, a very long time. Some highlights are, of course, you learn why Switzerland is a chocolate country. You can taste a lot of chocolate, and you can also see chocolate in the making.
In a Willy Wonka-esque moment, a door swings open, revealing a lab where visitors can make their own chocolate bars.
And if you still want more treats, the museum also has the biggest Lindt chocolate store in the world.
Chocolate imports are big business in the U.S., which brings in more chocolate than any other country. The Department of Agriculture reports imports of cocoa and chocolate products top $5 billion a year. Switzerland exported over 430 million pounds of chocolate in 2021, and the U.S. gobbled up more than $80 billion of that chocolate. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Kilchberg, Switzerland.
Well, residents of Switzerland consume more chocolate than those who live in any other country. That's around 20 pounds a year, according to Euromonitor. Wow. That's it for Consumer Watch. Here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, today's a great day to stay inside and enjoy some chocolate of any kind. And since it's Valentine's Day, an even better reason. We've got plenty of rainfall across the region. More on the way, and we'll talk more about that coming up. But first, it's almost time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. However, we want to make a quick stop in New York to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony Nicole. Coming up on CBS Mornings, supermodel Carly Kloss joins us live to talk about her mission to teach computer coding to young girls. All that coming up on CBS Mornings.
Time for some Tuesday birthdays across the area. And we begin in Golden City with Shasta Lynn Broyle celebrating birthday number 3. Happy birthday.
All right, and we have Ace Holland celebrating birthday number 4 today. Love that picture there, Ace in Sarcoxie,
See,
Missouri.
he's dressed up like Blippi, and Blippi is my youngest favorite character, too.
Yes, I recognize that.
Blippi is an interesting program, to say the least, but it's good for kids. So, happy birthday, Ace.
Good,
We've
clean
also got
fun.
Mia McCready celebrating number 5 in Chanute. Happy birthday.
Kaysen Casey celebrating another year older. Happy birthday, Kaysen. Pretty with that flower, though.
And we've got Carly Greer celebrating number 12 in Joplin. Happy birthday, Carly.
All right, Maverick Sharp turning 15 years old this year. Maverick celebrates in Parsons, Kansas.
And we've got Darcy Bruce in Chatopa celebrating number 22. Happy birthday, Darcy.
All right, and it's a happy age advancement day for Glenda Darnell in Joplin, Missouri. Best wishes coming from Stony.
I do like that one. I'm going to have to start using that phrase. Peggy Myers celebrating another age wiser in Chanute as she turns 67. Happy birthday.
Donna Reed turning 69 with the little throwback pic there. Love that one. What a cutie there. In Miami, Oklahoma with love from family and your favorite niece.
And we've got Paul Cupp celebrating number 76. Our neighbor in Crestline. Happy birthday, Paul.
In Columbus, Kansas, Wilma Dooley turning 84 years old this year. Hope it's a great one, Wilma.
And up in Pittsburgh, Garnett Brown celebrating number 91. Happy birthday.
And in McCune, Kansas, the Parsons are celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary this year. Congrats going out to Frosty and Roe Parsons.
We've got a lot of anniversaries
Yeah,
here.
we do.
25th anniversary in Parsons for Alan and Christina Grimmett. Happy anniversary.
Well, if you think about it, it's Valentine's Day.
That's true.
That's a pretty memorable day to remember your anniversary.
Yeah, that didn't even occur to me.
Yeah. Good job, guys. Killed two birds with one stone there. There you go. And we've got Dan and Misty O'Brien celebrating their 34th anniversary there in St. Paul.
We've got John and Laura Hicks celebrating their 37th anniversary. Happy anniversary to you, John and Laura.
And in Columbus, also celebrating their 37th anniversary. It's time to celebrate for Gary and Lisa Sandberg.
And our list goes on with Marilyn Worrell celebrating a birthday in Farlington, Kansas, and Daryl Bloomfield turning 76 up in Fort Scott. Happy birthday and anniversary to all of you. Let's continue to celebrate. And how do they need to help us celebrate?
All right, all they have to do is send us an email with your picture and all the details to birthdayswithans@KOAMnewsnow.com.
And don't forget, when you're checking out our website for the latest information, you can take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. It's free, it's easy to do. You get great deals from local businesses, and you get a special birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. So head over to KOAMnewsnow.com, sign up for that birthday club today. Well, it's a time of celebration in the kingdom as the Kansas City Chiefs win Super Bowl 57 in dramatic fashion. Coming up, with the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14, Amber Jenkins takes us inside Academy Sports following the Chiefs' historic Super Bowl win to see how fans celebrated with some new championship merchandise. Make sure you join us as the good times continue to roll when we make the move over to Fox 14 at 7. Now, we're talking rain still across the area, and it will continue to rain through the morning hours. We do have that rain, some of it heavy at times, even an embedded thunderstorm or two possible out there. No strong storms this morning. That could change later today. We'll talk about that in a moment. Here's more rain across Oklahoma, stretching all the way back to Oklahoma City, and this whole line stretching back down into Texas, rolling up into our area. We also have wind advisories. I'm apparently putting Ron to sleep. He just talked to me to tell me how much time I have, and he was making a really big yawn. All right, I'm going to have to get really excited about this. Hey, all right, so we got these wind advisories over here. Bourbon, Crawford, Cherokee counties, and southwest Missouri through 3 a.m. Everybody else through 6 p.m. tonight on those wind advisories. Now for the strong storms, there is a low end risk for all three hazards, all the severe weather hazard. It is a low risk, but it is not zero. So it is something that we're going to keep an eye on. You can see it's mainly confined across most of southeast Kansas. So we'll talk about that. For the rest of this morning, the rain continues, and again, maybe a rumble of thunder or two out there. By the time we head into the afternoon, we'll start to see this activity push on out of here, and that allows for a little clearing and a little warming as we get into the mid-50s later today. And then between, say, about 3 and 6 is when we could see additional thunderstorm development across southeast Kansas. So Yates Center, Chanute, Parsons, Independence, possibly over to Pittsburgh and up to Fort Scott. Something we need to keep an eye on, something you need to keep an eye on, and just keep it here with KOAM through the day, and we'll let you know if anything happens to develop out of that. All right, on top of all of that, this morning I think is when we're going to see the gustiest winds in that 50 to 55 mile an hour range. It is going to continue to be windy as we go into the afternoon and into the evening. That's when the gusts get a little more manageable, if you could say, down to 30 to 40 miles an hour with a few stray gusts to 45 possible. Rain across the region, we're looking to pick up anywhere from half an inch upwards of possibly even 3/4 of an inch. Some of us may see upwards of an inch of rain, and it is much needed rain. MoDOT camera 32nd and range line. The roads are wet. A brief pause in the rain in Joplin, but more still on the way. 49 feeling like 44. Across the area, here's what we've got. 48 Iola, Fort Scott, 49 Pittsburgh, 51 Miami, 49 Neosho, Carthage, Lamar, and Nevada. And as we continue through our morning, as we mentioned, heavy rain, a few embedded thunderstorms possible, temperatures hovering in the lower 50s. We get into the afternoon, we get into the mid-50s, and we'll watch that possibility for redeveloping thunderstorms in southeast Kansas. And we drop back down to 41. Once that clears out, we are looking pretty good, just still breezy as the winds continue into the overnight hours. And a very quick check of the 7-day forecast before Ron comes down here and hits me. Up to 67 tomorrow, 40-some odd degree drop in temperatures, down to 26 tomorrow night, so some light showers could turn into light snow for our northwestern counties. Cool Friday, Saturday, and then spring-like weather returning for the second half of the weekend and next week. We are back right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The United Nations says the death toll from last week's earthquake in Turkey will more than likely double the 37,000 already confirmed dead. Anger is growing in the region as police issue hundreds of arrest warrants to contractors, architects, and engineers connected to the buildings that collapsed. This stands in stark contrast to the moments of hope, like when a 13-year-old boy was rescued from the rubble 182 hours after the quake first struck. Well, since Friday, 3 more objects have been shot down over North America. U.S. officials still cannot say whether the objects shot down belong to China or any government rather than a company or even an individual. Officials say the 3 objects posed a threat to commercial aircraft. This follows the U.S. military shooting down a Chinese surveillance balloon more than a week ago. On Monday, a support group met in Joplin called the Non-Permitted Project. It's a collection of people from different backgrounds who share the common goal of tearing down barriers of taboo and non-permitted subjects. The group also connects members with local community resources. And Chiefs fans gravitate to championship gear just days after their team won the Super Bowl. One hot spot for Chiefs gear in Joplin is Academy Sports on Rangeline. Sales of the championship memorabilia there began as soon as the game ended Sunday night. Not a surprise in Chiefs country. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Wind advisories for us today, gusts pushing 40, 50 miles an hour. Some rain through the morning, maybe even a thunderstorm or two as temperatures hover into the 50s. Rain clears out by this afternoon. Then we're watching the possibility of redevelopment in southeast Kansas, up to 56 for a high. We're down to 41 for our low tonight. We'll see those storms in southeast Kansas clear out by about 6, 7 o'clock, and then we'll all clear out. We're still breezy as the night goes on with clear skies.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making hearty cheese biscuits in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. In honor of Black History Month, a look at a story that's been widely untold over all these years. The story of the McDonough Three little girls who desegregated schools in the South on the same day as Ruby Bridges in 1960. Coming up on CBS Mornings, Jamie Wax sat down with them to discuss what they remember from the day they met protesters outside the school.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, Charlene Patton from the Kansas Soybean Commission hits the studio with a strawberry meringue dessert recipe that's perfect for Valentine's Day.
And Jasmine Kyle from the SCK Humane Society also hitting the studio with information on some furry four-legged friends you just might want to take home with you. But that's going to wrap it up for us for now. We're back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.